There's a paradox in modern productivity culture. We're told to plan everything. 5-year plans, 10-year goals, detailed roadmaps of exactly where we'll be and what we'll achieve. We obsess over the future, meticulously plotting every step, believing control over tomorrow brings security today. But what if this obsession with future planning is actually making us less effective, less happy, and less alive? Ancient Tao philosophy offers a radically different approach. The Taoists didn't create elaborate long-term plans. They didn't chart their lives years in advance. Instead, they mastered something far more powerful, responding perfectly to the present moment. Today, we explore why the Taoists never planned too far ahead, and why this approach might be exactly what our anxious, overplanned modern world desperately needs to understand right now: the problem with overplanning. Let's start with what's wrong with excessive planning. Modern culture worships the future. Self-help books promise that detailed planning guarantees success. Business schools teach strategic planning as gospel truth. We're told, know exactly where you'll be in 5 years. Map every step. Leave nothing to chance. Control your destiny through meticulous planning. This sounds reasonable until you examine what actually happens. First, overplanning creates massive anxiety. When you planned your life years ahead, every deviation from the plan feels like failure. You become rigid, unable to adapt when reality inevitably differs from expectations. Second, planning assumes you know what the future holds. But you don't. Markets shift. Technologies emerge. Opportunities appear. Relationships develop. The future is fundamentally uncertain, yet planning pretends it's knowable and controllable. Third, excessive planning pulls you out of the present. You're so focused on future destinations that you miss present opportunities. You're living in an imagined future instead of responding to actual reality. Fourth, plans become prisons. Once you've invested time creating elaborate plans, you become attached to them. Even when circumstances change and the plan no longer serves you, you keep following it. The Tao Te Ching addresses this directly. Chapter 64 says, deal with it before it happens. Set things in order before there is confusion. This doesn't mean detailed future planning. It means responding early. The difference is crucial. Responding early means addressing what's arising now before it becomes problematic. Planning far ahead means trying to control what hasn't happened yet. One is wisdom. The other is delusion. The Taoist approach to time. So if Taoists don't plan extensively, what do? They cultivate something more valuable than plans: presence and responsiveness. They develop the ability to see clearly what's happening now and respond perfectly to it. The Tao Te Ching teaches, do you have the patience to wait till your mud settles and the water is clear? Can you remain unmoving till the right action arises by itself? This is radically different from Western planning. Instead of imposing your will on the future, you wait until the appropriate action becomes obvious. You don't force direction. You allow it to emerge from circumstances. Think of a skilled martial artist. They don't plan their next 5 moves in detail. They respond instantly to what their opponent does. Planning would make them slower, more rigid, less effective. Or consider jazz musicians. They don't plan every note before performing. They respond to what other musicians play, to the energy of the room, to what's emerging in the moment. Planning would kill creativity. This is Wu Wei in action, effortless action. Not because you're passive, but because you're so present and responsive that action flows naturally from circumstances. No forcing, no rigid adherence to predetermined plans. Zhuangzi illustrates this with the story of Butcher Ding. The butcher worked without effort because he understood the ox's natural structure. He didn't impose a rigid plan. He responded to what was actually there. His knife stayed sharp for 19 years because he didn't force cuts through bones and joints. He found the natural openings. He worked with what was, not what he planned for. This is a Taoist approach. Understand the natural structure of what you're working with. Don't impose rigid plans. Respond to actual conditions. Work with reality, not against it. Find natural openings, not forced paths. The illusion of control. Planning gives us the illusion of control. We feel safer when we've mapped everything out, but this safety is false. The Tao Te Ching says, those who know don't predict. Those who predict don't know. Why? Because reality is too complex for detailed prediction. Too many variables interact in ways we can't foresee. Try and control the uncontrollable through detailed planning wastes energy and creates suffering when plans inevitably fail. Consider major life events. Did you plan to meet your spouse exactly when and where you did? Did you plan the job offer that changed your career? Did you plan the insight that shifted your worldview? Most significant life changes come from responding to unexpected opportunities, not from following predetermined plans. The job you get isn't the one you planned for. The breakthrough comes from an unexpected direction. Life unfolds. The Taoists understood something modern planners forget. The future emerges from the present. You can't control the future directly. You can only respond skillfully to what's happening now. Present responsiveness shapes future outcomes. Think of a river. You can't control where it flows tomorrow, but you can navigate today's current skillfully. Your present navigation determines where you'll be, not your plans about distant destinations. The power of responding to the present. Here's what Taoists develop instead of elaborate plans: acute sensitivity to present conditions. They train themselves to see clearly what's actually happening, not what they wish was happening. This requires dropping expectations, releasing attachment to specific outcomes, and developing almost meditative awareness of present reality. When you're not distracted by future plans, you see present opportunities others miss completely. The Tao Te Ching teaches, the master observed the world but trusts his inner vision. He allows things to come and go. His heart is open as the sky. This openness requires freedom from rigid plans. When you're locked into detailed plans, you miss opportunities that don't fit your predetermined path. You ignore information contradicting your plan. You force yourself down paths that no longer serve you simply because you planned them. But when you're present and responsive, you notice subtle shifts. You see emerging patterns. You recognize opportunities as they arise. You adapt instantly. You flow with changing circumstances instead of fighting them rigidly. Consider business. The most successful companies don't follow rigid long-term plans. They have direction and vision, yes, but they adapt constantly. They respond to market shifts. They pivot when circumstances change unexpectedly. Apple didn't plan to revolutionize phones in 1997. Amazon didn't plan to dominate cloud computing when they started selling books. Google didn't plan to create Android initially. Responsiveness to emerging opportunities beats rigid planning. This doesn't mean having no direction. The Taoists had clear values and understood the Tao's nature, but they held direction lightly, remaining flexible about specific paths. They knew where they were going generally without planning every step. Short-term clarity, long-term flexibility. So what does Taoist planning actually look like practically? It combines short-term clarity with long-term flexibility. You see clearly what needs doing now. You remain flexible about distant future exactly. The Tao Te Ching says, A journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. Notice, it doesn't say plan all 1,000 miles in detail. It says take the first step clearly. You know your next step, maybe your next few steps, but you hold distant future lightly, because by the time you reach mile 500, circumstances will have shifted. New information emerges. Better paths reveal themselves unexpectedly. This is planning with humility. You plan what you can actually see and know. Immediate actions, short-term moves, present responses. You remain humble about distant future you cannot see or control. In practical terms, this might mean knowing clearly what you're doing today and this week, having general direction for this month or quarter, holding long-term vision lightly as possibility rather than rigid plan. You're not floating aimlessly. You have direction, but you're not imprisoned by detailed plans. You're free to respond when circumstances shift. You can pivot without feeling like you failed your plan and wasted effort. The natural rhythm of things. The Taoists observe nature carefully. Trees don't plan to grow. Rivers don't plan their course. Seasons don't plan their changes. Yet everything unfolds in natural order without forcing. Growth happens through responding to present conditions. Rain today, sun tomorrow, nutrients in soil. The tree doesn't plan to be 30 feet tall in 10 years. It grows today, responding to today's conditions. Over time, growth accumulates. The tree reaches 30 feet. The river reaches the ocean. Seasons complete their cycles. But none of this required detailed advanced planning. It required presence in response to actual conditions. Humans are part of nature. We grow the same way, responding to present conditions, adapting to circumstances, allowing development to unfold naturally. Forcing growth through rigid plans often stunts it rather than helps it. Think of child development. Children don't plan their learning. They respond to what interests them. They explore what's present. They follow natural curiosity. Forcing rigid educational plans often kills love of learning completely. Or consider healing. Bodies heal through responding to present conditions. Rest when needed, activity when appropriate, nutrition when available. You can't force healing through detailed plans. You support it by responding to present needs. This is a natural rhythm Taoists align with presence, response, adaptation, growth. Not force, control, rigid plans, and struggle. One works with reality. The other fights it constantly and exhaustingly. When to plan, when to flow. This raises an important question. Is all planning wrong? No. The issue isn't planning itself. It's overplanning, rigid planning, and planning as control rather than preparation. The Taoists weren't against preparation. Preparing for winter by storing food makes sense. Preparing for a journey by gathering supplies is wise. The difference is between preparation and trying to control uncontrollable. Useful planning is short-term, flexible, and responsive. You plan what you can reasonably foresee. You prepare for likely scenarios. But you hold plans lightly, ready to adapt when circumstances change inevitably. Harmful planning is long-term rigidity that assumes you know the unknowable future. It creates detailed maps of territory you haven't seen. It locks you into paths before you understand the landscape fully. The Tao Te Ching advises, plan difficult tasks through the simplest tasks. Accomplish large tasks through the smallest tasks. This means breaking complex undertakings into immediate, manageable steps. Focus on what's actually in front of you, not on elaborate, distant plans. Do what's needed today excellently. Tomorrow will bring its own requirements. Next week will reveal its own needs. Respond skillfully to each as it arrives rather than predicting. Anxiety and the future. Here's why this matters for modern life. Most anxiety comes from living in an imagined future. You're not anxious about this present moment. You're anxious about what might happen later. Detailed planning feeds this anxiety. The more you plan the future, the more you live there mentally. The more you live in future, the more anxious you become because future is uncertain. Taoist presence offers an antidote. When you're fully present, anxiety dissolves. Not because future is secure, but because you're not mentally living there. You're responding to actual present, not imagined disasters or feared failures. The Tao Te Ching says, if you are depressed, you are living in the past. If you are anxious, you are living in the future. If you are at peace, you are living in the present. This is profound. Depression and anxiety share one thing: absence from present. Detailed future planning keeps you absent from present. It keeps you anxious about whether reality will match your plans exactly. Present responsiveness brings peace. Not because everything is perfect, but because you're dealing with what actually is rather than worrying about what might be. You trust your ability to respond to whatever comes. This trust comes from practice. The more you respond skillfully to present circumstances, the more you trust your responsiveness. You don't need detailed plans because you know you'll handle whatever arises appropriately. Practical application. Let's make this concrete. How do you actually live this way in modern life? First, distinguish between direction and detailed plans. Having direction is good, knowing your values, understanding general aims. But hold specific plans lightly. Know what you're doing today clearly. Have sense of this week. Hold next month as possibility. Regard next year as general direction. Consider 5 years as imagination only. Second, develop present awareness. Practice noticing what's actually happening now. Not what you plan would happen. Not what you wish was happening. What is actually occurring right now in front of you. This reveals opportunities. When you're not fixated on following predetermined plans, you notice openings you'd otherwise miss. Conversations lead somewhere unexpected. Projects develop in surprising directions. Life offers what plans couldn't imagine. Third, practice flexibility. When circumstances shift, shift with them. Don't cling to plans that no longer fit. Ask, what does this present situation require? Not, how do I force my plan onto the situation? Fourth, embrace uncertainty. You don't know the future. Neither does anyone else. All detailed long-term plans are guesses dressed as certainty. Admitting uncertainty is honest. It's also freeing. You're no longer pretending. Fifth, trust response over planning. Trust that you'll handle what comes when it comes. You've handled everything life has brought so far. You'll continue handling what arises. Responsiveness is more reliable than plans. The paradox of wu-wei planning. Here's the beautiful paradox. When you stop over-planning, things often work out better. Not because you're passive, but because you're more responsive to actual reality. You see opportunities rigid plans would blind you to. You adapt to changes and flexible plans would fight. You flow with circumstances forced plans would resist. You accomplish more through less forcing and planning. This is wu-wei, effortless effectiveness. Not effortless because you do nothing, but because you're working with reality instead of against it. You're responding instead of forcing predetermined plans on resistant circumstances. The Tao Te Ching captures this. The master does nothing, yet nothing is left undone. By not clinging to plans, by responding to what is, everything necessary gets accomplished naturally. The freedom of not knowing. The profound freedom in admitting you don't know the future. You're free to discover it as it unfolds, free to be surprised, free to adapt, free from anxiety about matching reality to plans. This doesn't mean being unprepared. It means being present, prepared for today, ready for what's coming soon, but not imprisoned by detailed expectations of distant future you cannot see or control anyway. Young children live this way naturally. They don't plan tomorrow anxiously. They engage fully with now. They discover what's possible through presence, not through planning. We can learn from this innocent wisdom again. The Tao Te Ching says, in pursuit of knowledge, every day something is added. In pursuit of the Tao, every day something is dropped. You drop anxiety. You drop rigid plans. You drop false control. What remains is presence, responsiveness, and trust. Trust in the Tao, in natural unfolding, in your ability to respond. This is simpler than elaborate planning, yet more effective because aligned with reality itself, living in alignment. Ultimately, this teaching is about alignment, aligning with reality instead of fighting it, aligning with present instead of living in imagined future, aligning with what is instead of what you wish would be. Overplanning fights reality. It says, reality should match my plans. When reality doesn't cooperate, you suffer, you force, you struggle. You exhaust yourself trying to control the uncontrollable through detailed planning. Taoist responsiveness accepts reality. It says, what is this moment requiring? It flows with what is. It adapts to actual conditions. It finds the path of least resistance, which is also the path of greatest effectiveness. This isn't resignation or passivity. It's deep engagement with what's actually present. It's responding powerfully to reality rather than imagined futures. It's effective action based on clear seeing, not based on rigid plans. The river again. Remember the river metaphor. Life flows like water. You can swim against current with detailed plans about exactly where you should be downstream, exhausting yourself fighting natural flow constantly. Or you can navigate skillfully with the current, steering around obvious obstacles, taking advantage of favorable flows, adjusting course as conditions change, trusting the river while applying skill to move through it wisely. The river will take you somewhere regardless. Fighting it exhausts you without changing the essential journey. Working with it brings you through efficiently, effectively, and with energy preserved for what matters. This is the Taoist way. Trust natural unfolding while applying presence and skill. Don't overplan what you cannot control. Respond perfectly to what you can actually see. Live in this moment, not in imagined futures. Thank you for watching this exploration of why Taoists never plan too far ahead and the power of responding to the present moment. If this perspective resonates with you, please like this video, share it with someone trapped in overplanning, and subscribe for more ancient wisdom applied to modern life.